There are things the cold room is supposed to fix. That is the belief. Clinical, sensible, efficient, that underlies the entire practice. You bring the body down. You slow the process. You buy yourself time. In the 41 years that Delbert Marsh worked intake at the Meridian County morgue, he had never once had cause to question that belief. Until Case 7 Alpha 19. The deceased had been transported from Harwick Township, 40 miles northeast, 2-lane roads, October, arriving at 11:47 p.m. The transport manifest listed cause as cardiac arrest, confirmed at scene by first responders. Male, 62. No unusual circumstances noted. The bag was sealed. The seals were intact. The paperwork was in order. Marsh's first note in the intake log reads simply, body temp at intake, 98.6. Equipment malfunction suspected. He calibrated the thermometer, tested it on 3 known cold samples from the previous evening. All accurate. He returned to the intake table. 98.6. The second note reads, thermometer functioning correctly, body retaining heat. Unusual. Unusual. That was the word Delbert Marsh chose. Not alarming. Not impossible. Unusual. He placed the body in cold storage at 29 degrees Fahrenheit and went home. The next morning, the reading had not changed. He documented it. He rechecked the refrigeration unit. The unit was operating at specification, 29 degrees throughout the overnight cycle. The neighboring trays, 2 occupied, read 31 and 32 respectively. Normal ambient bleed, expected. The Case 7 intake tray read 98.6. He called the transport company. He asked whether there had been any delay, any mechanical failure, any unusual heat exposure during transit. The driver, a man named Clements, said the ride had taken 53 minutes, that the temperature in the transport bay had been 40 degrees. He had checked it himself, per protocol, and that the bag had not been opened. Marsh asked if Clements had noticed anything unusual. There was a pause. Then Clements said, the bag moved. He had assumed it was road vibration. He had noted it in his head, in the way you note things you don't want to think about. And he had not written it down. Marsh wrote it down. On day 3, the body remained at 98.6. On day 4, a second thermometer, borrowed from the county health office, calibrated that morning, confirmed the reading. On day 5, Marsh brought in the county physician, a Dr. Adeline Voss, who had seen 30 years of unusual cases and who held the professional opinion that the world was rarely as strange as people claimed. Voss spent 40 minutes with the intake tray. She then sat in Marsh's office and drank a full cup of coffee before speaking. There is no metabolic process active, she said. I've confirmed that. No heart function, no neural activity, no respiratory movement that I can detect. The body is dead, definitively. She looked at her notes. She looked at Marsh. It's producing heat, she said. "I cannot tell you from where." On day 7, they brought in a secondary containment unit, a sealed, insulated chamber used for biohazard cases, monitored by continuous digital thermometer logging. They transferred the body. They sealed the chamber. The internal temperature of the chamber began, over the course of the next 6 hours, to rise, not to 98.6, higher. By midnight of day 7, the chamber interior read 104 degrees. The body itself, when checked through the access port, read 98.6, unchanged. The heat, it seemed, was not the body's alone. It was moving outward. Marsh called the state examiner's office on day 8. He filed a formal anomaly report. He used measured language. Persistent thermal readings inconsistent with post-mortem physiology. And he submitted the temperature logs. The state examiner's office responded 4 days later, by which time Marsh had filled 9 pages of handwritten notes in a spiral-bound pad he kept specifically for things he did not want in the official record. The response said that the logs had been reviewed, that the most likely explanation was equipment malfunction or human error, and that a replacement thermometer would be issued to the facility within 30 business days. Marsh wrote in his spiral pad, "They did not ask to see the body." On day 11, the deputy county clerk arrived to process the release paperwork. The body had been identified, next of kin notified, a funeral home assigned. The clerk, a young woman named Frances, 26, first year in the role, completed the forms with the practiced efficiency of someone who had processed hundreds of these and found them unremarkable. She asked Marsh to confirm the storage location. He walked her to the secondary containment chamber. She placed her hand on the exterior of the chamber, which was standard stainless steel, and withdrew it immediately. "It's warm," she said. Marsh said he knew. She did not ask anything further. She completed her forms and left. The body was released on day 13. The funeral home director, a man Marsh had worked with for a decade, reliable, unsentimental, called 2 hours after intake. He said his embalming room felt like a sauna. He asked if there was anything Marsh knew that he should know. Marsh said he didn't know how to answer that. The director called again on day 14, in the evening. He said the body had been prepared and placed in a casket, and that the casket felt warm to the touch, and that his refrigerated display room had risen 6 degrees since intake. He said his staff were uncomfortable. He asked what he should do. Marsh said to proceed with the service. He said he was sorry. He said he didn't have a better answer. The service was held on day 16, 23 attendees. The service was brief. 2 people commented to the funeral director that the room felt unusually warm for October. The director smiled and said the heating system sometimes ran a bit high. On day 17, Marsh received a call from the cemetery groundskeeper. He said that the soil above the new grave was warm. He had pressed his palm to it, the way you do when you're checking ground temperature before a frost. And it had felt like a living thing. He said he didn't know who else to call. Marsh told him to document it. He told him to write down the date the reading if he had a thermometer, and to keep the documentation somewhere personal. He asked the groundskeeper if the warmth was spreading. There was a long silence. "Not yet," the groundskeeper said. "But it's deeper than it was this morning." Marsh closed the case file the following Monday. He used the standard form. He cited equipment inconsistency and noted that the body had been released and interred per standard protocol. In his spiral pad, the private one, he wrote a single final entry. "I do not know what was in that body. I do not know what it wanted. I do not know if it was finished when they put it in the ground. I know that the ground above it is still warm. I know that warmth is moving outward. And I know that I have never in 41 years encountered a thing the cold room could not fix." He underlined that last line twice. Below it, in smaller handwriting, he added, "Until now." The spiral pad was found in Marsh's desk drawer 11 months after his death. The grave in Harwick Township still reads warmer than the surrounding soil. No one has offered an official explanation. The Twilight Registry lists this case as open, unresolved, and warm. If you have information, you are encouraged to come forward. The registry asks only that you bring a coat. The cold room has not been working properly since